I had to deal with Sky Sports. They wanted me to come over and commentate for them. And I told them I'd come on one condition. And the terms was I get in the ring with Joshua at the end of the night.
But at that time, we had no deal in place. So I said, don't waste your time or my time. The fight's already big. We don't need to...
Let's not waste no promo.
Right. Yeah, that's all it was.
You know, a couple of days later, I get a phone call from my manager. He was like saying that ain't going to be able to happen because Joshua talking about upping the security on me. I even heard about restraining orders and stuff, saying he don't want to hype the fight, you know, for what?
His point is 75% right.
I just think that it's a bunch of BS that these guys ain't in the ring fighting yet for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world.
We are playing the long game. We believe that our client, Anthony Joshua, is going to be ruling the roost for 5, 6, 7 years. So we're in no tearing rush.
You know, he got offered $50 million the other day, and he never took it. And, you know, Tyson Fury really answered that call and took the fight.
There was a lot of talk of them two going back and forward, fighting each other for over a year.
Deontay came over to England. You know, he was searching for a great fight. Nobody wanted to fight him. Tyson Fury answered the call and came over to America.
When you do step in this ring with me, I promise you, when you step in the ring, I will baptize you.
It took me, a fat, bald-headed guy, to accept a challenge to defend my country, so to say.
Listen, there's only one Tyson Fury!
To me, I think that was a mistake to allow Tyson Fury to get that shot.
What type of a world champion is this? When a guy who's been out of the ring for so long has to come back and defend the throne?
Anytime,
when you up in the ring with a real fighter, when you in for a real fighter, that's what it's all about, man.
Squad, no bother, no bother.
There's no arguments over money, splits, promoters, nothing. It's how real men do it. We do the business, straight to it. No messing around.
There's no more proof that we have to show.
My advice was, let's leave it 2 years. Because then how the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight got built, you know, in commercial terms, Deontay Wilder and AJ today is a $70 million fight, maybe 80. In 2 years' time, it might be $250, $300 million.
The main message in that message is just have a business plan and do your market research and make sure you execute that plan. That's all it is, because if you don't know the market, you're just another consumer for someone else to get rich.
There's going to be lots of negotiations, there's going to be lots of arguments over splits, guarantees, but the proof of the pudding is the market is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think Shelley Finkel wanted to cash in on Deontay Wilder straight away. That's my honest view. He wanted to fight straight away. That's crazy. Business crazy, and Shelley knows better than that.
Short-term thinking versus long-term thinking.
Barry already told y'all, it's 6 to 8 proper career plan, and Deontay Wilder wasn't in it from the start. So don't drag these people along.
When you plan a business that's got a 10-year lifespan, you don't rush it. You know, I said to AJ, he asked me my honest opinion, I said, if you told me you were going to retire in 6 months' time, I'd tell you to fight Deontay Wilder now. If you tell me you're here for the long run, I say that fight can only get bigger. And also, you don't take chances.
Okay, let's say Wilder retired today. There's not a fight that you'll probably say, man, that fight was phenomenal. There's not a standout fight, so he's waiting for that standout fight. And it seems that they've pinned me up to be that guy, so he's waiting for me, and I'll get there sooner or later. So Wilder, just be patient. I hope he continues to win, and I'll continue to play my part to kind of build towards a good heavyweight showdown.
Over a period of time, it happens, but it's not a rush.
I'm the last undisputed champion, and I've been that way for the last 20 years. So it would be nice that somebody else came along and took it over.
You put a cake in an oven, it doesn't rise straight away. It rises when the heat is right.
They got farms in England?
Yeah.
Well, they're doing a lot of milking. Because, why would I fight a difficult fight if I can fight a far easier fight and still make tons of money? And just tell people, oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
These things have a habit in boxing of building to a crescendo. And that journey is still in place. The fights are not getting smaller, are they?
We've had an issue where it's fantasy what we want in our wildest dreams and reality in terms of what you bring to the table. So Wilder's had 40-something fights in the space of 10 to 11 years. I've had 23 fights in the space of 4 to 5 years, and I've captured my hands on the majority of the world championship belts. And I just feel like Eddie's saying there's nothing wrong with this fight happening, but in terms of Wilder's team, you have to kind of get away from fantasy and let's sit down and bring reality to the table.
Right now, you know, he's the 3rd best heavyweight in the world.
Remember, I unified the division. I won the title and I unified it twice in the space of 23 fights.
And they had to rob it off my son in the beginning to give him it, or he'd never been champion. Only for my son beating Klitschko, Joshua would never ever have had a belt. He would have had to go and win it proper.
You know, Anthony didn't want to step up. Tyson Fury did. And Tyson Fury is still the lineal champion. He's still unified champion, you know. Belts, you know, it's just like having a car. Joshua may be driving the car, but he don't own the title.
We are 2 men who will fight anybody. This man has been trying to make a big fight with the other chump. I think we all know who we're talking about. I said yes, and now he gets his chance to fight the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. My promise is, I got me rounds here tonight, 10 rounds, but one thing I promise when I go to Las Vegas is I'm knocking you the fuck out, boom. Boom.
You know, when 2 fighters want to fight, the fight will happen. It's just like that. It's plain and simple, just like that. You know, when guys don't want to fight, it's going to be a prolong in it. It's going to be things that's going to mess it up.
I'm the man that handles my business. I'm a smart individual, and I make calculated decisions every step of the way.
Champ, what I'll follow up with, it's obvious that you want to make more money.
I don't care what he says about he makes calculated this account to, and from his viewpoint, it's calculated. But from my viewpoint, bullshit.
It's too much business. I mean, it's a certain point where you've made millions of dollars, these fighters are mega millionaires, and you have to say, this is the fight that the public wants, we're going to fight. Right. I mean, this sport has made me very rich and wealthy. Right. And it's not going to be, I'm trying to get every little penny, every advantage in it. And that's what's hurting boxing now. The big fights that the public demands and want are not being made because the fighters, for different reasons, won't fight.
In terms of like finances, Wilder earns £10, Joshua earns £20. To fight, Joshua still has to earn £20, but Wilder now earns £18. It's just a simple fact of like Wilder, there's nothing wrong with that situation, but it can't be a situation where you're looking at saying £30 and Joshua stays on 20. Like, that's finances, that's between promoters and stuff, but that's the issue I feel like.
So what's the motivation?
The motivation?
What is it? Is it money? Is it material things?
It's always money.
Will he be remembered for what he's done, or will he be remembered for how much money he made?
I definitely have to be money motivated.
If money's your motivation, you're in trouble.
So you have to understand when a man named Joshua says that, what it makes him is a guy who is limited to how great he can be. He's not the guy that I want to be in a foxhole with.
When you got so much fucking money, man, it changes everything. And, you know, the fight business is a tough business to get up and go to every day when you got that kind of money.
Yeah, perfect. And the sheets are brand new.
Made too much money.
Yep.
Anthony Joshua obviously has his own thing, what he wants to do, and his own timeline.
Price, quality versus time. There's like a free, like a triangle rule.
Let's leave it 2 years.
It may make the smart. It may make sense for business.
He had it, you know, he had his choice, and his choice is to do what he said, be a businessman.
You know, in commercial terms, Deontay Wilder and AJ today is a $70 million fight, maybe 80. In 2 years' time, it might be $250, $300 million.
While they're mucking around saying, oh, I'll fight this or I won't fight until next year, somebody might lose. This is what happens.
That's where your judgment comes in and say, do I see anyone out there to beat either of them? No. Could it happen? Yes. If it happens, okay, that was a bad call.
You know, commercial value, boxing value, everyone's aware of the situation now because no one's shy of talking about offers.
What can happen like if inflation just keeps on happening and rising? And
I'm with you. Thank you very much. Yeah? Take care.
being a good ambassador of your sports opens up many doors.
Do you know what it is? I've got a son who's 3 years old, and I really want him to understand the economy, because I had to go to fighting. So I didn't get to learn about this stuff, but this stuff is what makes the world go round.
Being smart and educated is a new cool in 2019.
And okay, that's fine. But guess what? That shows up in the ring. It shows up. It doesn't get left. You don't say, oh, I'm busy. Now I'm putting this hat on. It's connected. And it shows. And it showed already.
He spits the bit.
Not like somebody knocked it out, he spit it out. You can tell that he ain't really into it now.
It takes a complete commitment of your character. Argue all you want, but look at it. He's showing you it's more about being a businessman than a fighter. It's more about the money than it is about victory. Who I am! Standing on a mountain! I am king!
I've got people that are managing me, protecting me, saying, you know what, you've got to play ball as well.
From accountants to lawyers to managers, security, social media followers, and PR.
They're the people you talk to, you listen to, that group.
This is what you need to make the cogs turn. As a brand outside of boxing, when you're trying to achieve big, you have to go big.
It's a negotiation. You don't get what you worth, you get what you negotiate. And it's difficult times when you've got two people who bring something to the table.
If you want a guy to fight, if you want to fight a guy, offer him proper money. And then don't allow your manager, you control your manager. Tell him you want the fight no matter what. That's what I did. Well, I've told my people to get the fight, do whatever they can to get the fight with Evander Holyfield. I'm appealing to Evander because I control my people, and I tell them what I want.
Unlike all the heavyweights out there, he has never ducked an opponent.
I'm just saving all my talent for the world champion, that's Evander Holyfield. Right now I'm knocking at the door and I'm waiting for him to answer it.
He's been willing to fight anyone at any time.
We're trying to get Don King to come to a meeting right now. He's missed 3 meetings, and what can you do?
Do you fear that King wants to keep you out of the picture?
He definitely wants to keep me out of the picture, but whether he can is the question. I think if Evander Holyfield wants to fight, like he said he wants to fight, then he should tell Don King that he wants to fight to get the fight made. The main thing for me was getting the 3 belts. It doesn't matter to me how much money we'll box for or how much money I'll get. When you look back in the history books, all you're going to remember is what I've achieved, not how much money I've made. So the money thing is not really a big thing for me.
Joshua, I'm not knocking him. He's not driven by that. I'm not saying everyone is. It's obvious that's what separates people and makes people special. But I'm not saying he's not a good fighter. But I am saying he's not that. He's not that.
I respect all boxers that get in the ring, but I do have more respect for Deontay Wilder than Anthony Joshua, because Wilder has proved to me that he is willing to step up and fight the best, and he has done.
Well, Joshua, to my point, just showed you that the money's more important. That it's not the most important thing to go out there and show what he is in a boxing ring. It's his legacy, whatever you want to call it, to fight. I don't love Wilder's personality, but I tell you what I do love about him. He said, I want the freaking chance at the title. I want this guy. He was fighting for much more than a purse, much more than a title. He's got a great story of a disabled daughter that the goal was to be able to take care of and provide for her. And he was fighting for one last thing, to be what he wanted to be the rest of his life, to feel the way he needed to feel, like a champion the rest of his life. That's what got him off the floor. That's what got him this freaking close to winning that fight by knockout when he dropped Fury twice. That's what allowed him to go where his body didn't want to go anymore, where his body almost couldn't go in. He dragged his body to those late rounds. Dragged it. And you know why? Because of every word I just said. That's why. The only difference was he was in there with the same kind of guy. He was in there with the same kind of guy. The guy that looked at the devil and told him to get lost. After 3 years off, people forget how long he'd been off. 3 years off. Through all this, he comes back and he fights the hardest puncher on the planet. Wilder. And he gets dropped. He's laying there, and he's seeing those last 3 years of his life. And before it got to 10, he made a decision, a choice between life and death. Could you really see Joshua getting off the floor, you know, as Fury did in the first Wilder fight 2 times? I don't think you could. I don't think you could, honestly, if you're going to be honest. He got off the floor against Klitschko, a 40-something-year-old Klitschko, and he got dropped and he got off the floor. Yeah, I give it to him. I give it to him for that night. But then after that, he was different.
And that was a brave performance of someone who was a bit naive, just fighting from the heart.
It meant more to him on that particular night than it did at Madison Square Garden against Ruiz or it did against Usyk.
My life, my health is on the line. I can't do this to make someone happy. I'm past that stage, bro. I ain't gonna have a brain cell left when I'm done. You know what I mean? If I'm getting smashed in my face every time.
And I think I have a reason why he was different. On that night, he was still young enough. His bank account was still not as big as it is now. And it meant more to him at that point in his life. What Fury did after he got dropped twice was beyond physical. He already discovered that he could go to those dark places. And that's what Wilder was going through. Do I matter? Was I ever anything? Was I ever more than a freaking puncher knocking over, guys? Was I ever more than that? Yeah, you are more than that, Mr. Wilder.
Wilder did not want to lose this fight. He was determined to win this fight. He was tired, he was hurt, but he kept it together, and he wanted to go out on his shield, and he did.
I want to give you your due. Yeah, I know you lost, but you won. You're a champion in my book. You're a champion in my book. And you found what you were looking for. You found it. But everything I just described, that behavior, everything that I just put out there, Joshua, it was your choice to give in against Ruiz. It was your choice. You allowed it to be your choice. And till somebody speaks that hard truth to him, nothing will change. And that's the problem when you have people paid to be around you to sometimes tell you things that are other than the truth. That's the problem.
I think the way Anthony Joshua fights at the minute, which is a bit nervous, a bit scared, is not offensive, is not aggressive, is not tenacious like he used to be, like when he come back from that left hook that wobbled him against Dillian Whyte and when he climbed off the canvas against Klitschko. Since he lost to Usyk, the Ruiz loss actually, I think took a piece of his soul, and the Usyk losses, I just think he can't seem to get any momentum. He's not brave. He's almost like the lion out of Wizard of Oz.
He just hasn't got the desire or the will, not a quarter of it, of these other two men, Wilder or my son. But listen, he's been a good champion, but does he ever beat these other two men? Definitely not. He needs to prove he's willing to step up to the plate and fight the best.
If he's the king of the hill, he can control everything. Obviously, he can make the decisions that he can make, and his decision is not to fight any of them.
We don't want that Lennox Lewis-Riddick Bowe situation again, obviously.
We've seen this movie before, and these guys never fought. So they're going to go around for the rest of their lifetime about what would have happened.
Do you think that Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, when they're retired, if they don't fight each other, will look back on it with regrets?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I'm sure Riddick Bowe looks back at it. I seen him. I asked him the question, why we didn't fight.
He's calling me names, this and that. I was expecting to jump in the ring with him. It was a disappointment to me because, they seen us at the Olympics.
I beat both. And I will always, but that was 3 rounds. And that will always be over his head. He should, if he's a true warrior of the game, he would obviously want a rematch. I know that I have something over him.
Riddick Bowe didn't want to fight Lennox.
Riddick Bowe threw away a world championship belt rather than to have to fight Lennox Lewis. Mike Tyson is laboring in court right now via his representatives to try to avoid having to fight Lennox Lewis.
Each and every time that they had an opportunity to choose to fight Lennox, they chose to fight me because they thought I was a lesser opponent.
Bring it on, man. They ducked us all the way to the championship. They said, wait until one of us becomes a champion.
We have a contract that guarantees us 30%, and we're willing to drop 5% on that contract that we already have signed with Riddick Bowe.
You know, let's get the real fight that the people are talking about together. Let's put the fight on and box for no money and send all the money to Africa.
The WBC says it's going to make sure that the winner of Holyfield Bowe fights Lennox Lewis.
And then if I said that was as good as Bowe was, he still said that Lennox was still mentally and physically too strong. So it was his recommendation that Bowe give up the title.
What was the conversation like when you gave up the WBC belt?
I really didn't want to give it up. When he kept saying to me, walk on, man, he kept saying to me, oh, boy, this is the best part. When we do this, man, it was the worst thing I ever could have done.
Rock Newman wanted the gravy train, the money, to last.
Newman had Bowe toss his WBC championship belt into a trash can, scrapping an understanding that he would fight Lennox Lewis.
I wish I would have, so I could have fought Lennox Lewis.
So, you know, that's down to him. And I'm sure he regrets it, and he's the one that should have let it happen.
You believe that Anthony Joshua should push for that fight. If you were Anthony Joshua, or say in your day, if this very public negotiations was going on, would you have put your foot down and demanded the fight?
Yeah, man.
Lennox is a clown. I don't respect Lennox.
You know, I just look at him being under some stress.
If you knew my story, you would understand the passion. I'm not a 12-round fighter. Look at me. Oh, yeah, you don't throw combinations like Rocky Marciano. Because I ain't 14 stone, that's why. I'm 18 stone, I'm heavy. It's hard work. I ain't no amateur boxer from 5 years old. That was an elite prospect from my youth, bro.
I don't think Anthony Joshua is a natural fighter. And I don't think now he's got the confidence or the self-belief to get in there and stick it on his opponent. And that's what he needs to do. Certainly before he jumps in there with someone like Deontay Wilder.
What about the dream? Is it still to be undisputed heavyweight champion?
I think
or has that changed?
Undisputed is long for me now. I'm not even focusing on that anymore.
No, I just think if Anthony Joshua was to retire now, what would he be remembered for? He'd be remembered for beating an old Klitschko that'd been sat on the sofa for 18 months, and he climbed off the canvas to do it in a great win, yes. But he'd not be a best version of Klitschko. And then people are going to remember him for losing to the fat kid from Mexico, Ruiz. And I've got to say he's a fat kid from Mexico because in the rematch, he turned up like a fat disgrace. He was overweight, he was ill-prepared, and he looked a mess. Then what's he remembered for? 2 losses to Alexander Usyk. All right, one of the best fighters to ever live and breathe the sport, brilliantly talented, but he's a cruiserweight, coming up to heavyweight. So if you look at his legacy now, there's nothing to shout and scream about.
If he wants to be the next undisputed, you got to fight Wilder.
Sometimes the truth hurts, and you've got to be honest to people.